This video is an excerpt from our weekly podcast. Go and watch the full podcast, check the link in the description of this video, or support us on Patreon at patreon.com/prettygoodgaming. Let's jump into Scarlet Nexus. What is this game, Henry, and how did you like it?
So it's been kind of like half on my radar for a minute. I saw a trailer a while ago, and then it just came out like last week on the 25th of June. It's a Japanese action RPG. I wouldn't really call it a JRPG. It's much more of an action RPG, but with like a Japanese thing. You know what I mean? Because it's not like Final Fantasy or turn-based or anything like that. It's developed by, I think you say it, Toze / Bandai Namco Studios, and published by Bandai Namco, which should really come as a surprise. They handle loads of games like this. It describes itself as brain-punk. I can kind of see what they mean. It's basically Cyberpunk, but everything is like to do with the brain and weird psycho powers, you know, like special abilities that they can get from your brain, and it's like wires go into your brain and then you connect to someone else's brain and you share a brain. Weird brain shit. And basically it's in a world where there's a war between the regular people and these extra dimensional creatures that they just call others. You control members of the OSF, which is the Other Suppression Force, as you try to fight back. It's very anime in the art style, and like it's happy-go-lucky team dynamics of everyone on the team has their own like unique little personality, even though all of them are pretty much, at least at the point I'm in, very tropey. I am only like 6 hours in, but and there's 2 playable characters who are actually separate. It's not just a gender swap. Forgive me if I pronounce any of these names wrong. I've been hearing a lot of Japanese names and a lot of them confused me. Yuito Sumeragi is a guy, and he uses a sword and has psychokinetic abilities, and psychokinesis is basically telekinesis. It's throwing shit with your mind. And then there's Kasani Randall, who is a girl, and she uses like throwing daggers / like shuriken boomerang type thing. You throw them and then they come back, and she's also psychokinetic. Yuito is a member of one of the wealthiest, most powerful families in the world, and his dad and brother hold senior positions in like the political landscape and the security force and all that. So there's a lot of background there that is yet to be explored, at least to the point I'm in. He's proud, he's noble, he volunteered to join the sci-fi brainpunk army to fight back and save the world. Then Kasani, she's also from a strong family, but she's like the moody one, the mysterious one. No one quite knows what's going on there. And there is some kind of background connection between the two, but we don't know that yet. Well, I don't know that yet. So that's going to be interesting to find out. But it's not just these two. You play as either one of them. Their paths crisscross, but they're not exactly the same. They are off doing their own separate things. You're not just playing exactly the same storyline. The rest of the characters are, like I said, they're all kind of like tropey, and they've got like one key personality trait, and that defines everything about them. So there's a Nagi, who's like the fun-loving, easygoing best friend who's there for a good time, and he's always smiling. He's always there to keep everyone happy. There's Naomi, who's like the pretty cute anime girl next door type. Fortunately, thus far, there's not been an overabundance of tits, which I think is really cringy in most things. They have tits, they're there, but they're not like, whoa, here's a pair of boobies, which I can't stand. There's other characters like Hanabi, who is like Yuito's best friend from childhood, and she totally has a crush on him because, like I said, it's a little bit teeny, and there's group dynamics. They're all like teenagers in this shit, or even though they're voiced by 30-year-olds, you can't tell how old they are because they're anime characters, and anime characters are either 1,000 years old or like 10. There's Kagero, who's the cocky one. There's Shiden, who's the mean arsehole one. Gemma, who is the big burly, like strong one. You know what I'm getting at. Everyone has like their thing, and then they stick to that. So it's got a party system, and you can have up to 2 party members, but you will always control either Yuito or Kasane. But what I think makes it interesting is you've got your regular abilities. So you've got like regular sword attack, a special attack, jumps, dodges, all that. But then you've got these psychokinetic abilities, which really spice things up. Most of your attack inputs are on the face buttons, but then the psychokinetic stuff is on the triggers. So at any point you can just pull a trigger, and you'll literally find an object in the world, grab it with your mind, and just yeet it at an enemy. It's always satisfying, and it's great. If you do like an attack, then a psychokinetic attack quickly, you can do like this combo, and you can basically do that back to back to back for ages, and just deplete your entire meter of just throwing object, smashing them, throwing object, slashing them, and it's really cool. The combat in this game is really awesome. I'm not far enough into the story yet to really be able to judge it, but it seems kind of interesting, albeit, like I said, it's a bit teen adventure. We're gonna save the world. I'm like, ugh, stop being so positive, all right? The world is fucked. You're being invaded by weird extra-dimensional aliens. Be a bit sadder, okay? Yeah. But then when the party members come in, they've all got unique abilities too. So there's Hanabi, she's got pyrokinesis, which is basically fire powers, and they all have unique weapons as well. So she's got a bow staff, and that's pretty self-explanatory how her power works. She just makes fire. But when you use her, your party are on like the right bumper, then there's a face button depending on which one you've assigned, and that basically just bolsters your attacks with fire damage. So if you use something in the environment to set an enemy on cover an enemy in oil, you can then hit them with the fire attack, and it's going to do extra damage, which is pretty simple but highly effective. Then there's some characters who are a little bit stranger, like Kagero. He can go invisible and he uses a dagger, and invisible, that's pretty self-explanatory. Again, it's useful for stealth, but it can also be used to attack really effectively, because you can sneak behind them and get a really powerful backstab attack, which does a shitload of damage. Each party member can fight independently by themselves and do their own thing, but they all have different stats and kind of fighting style, so some are better suited to like all-out attack all the time, go hard, whereas others it's best to have them stay back, because you can command them a little bit. Yeah, you can either all-out attack, be a bit defensive, or hold off, focus on healing, attack my target, attack a different target kind of thing. Annoyingly, you can't issue these commands, or like, it's not really commands, it's more like fighting styles, I suppose. You can't issue those like in combat, you've got to do it in a menu, or at least there's not a way that I've come across. It's such an obvious inclusion that I feel like I must be missing something. Why can I not give them commands within combat? Instead I've got to go in a menu, and that just breaks up everything. But each of your party members gets stronger as you bond with them, because like I said, this is an anime friendly adventure. We're going to be together and we're going to save the world like a family. And normally these are, well, the handful I've done so far, they're called Bond episodes, and you basically just watch like a cutscene with them. You don't actually have to do anything. It's just like a bit of exposition and background, and oh my god, there is a lot of exposition in this game. It's one of those where the two characters are talking about shit that both of them already know, but I don't as an audience member, so they're like, hey, do you remember when you did this? Yeah, I do. I'm now going to explain to you when you did this so that the audience knows exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
It's one of those you kind of just got to grin and bear it. You know, it's sci-fi futuristic world, and they've got to catch you up on that shit. But eventually you'll get through it, and you're like, okay, now I know all of this backstory and lore. Let's get to the good stuff. Well, speaking of the cutscenes, when you do these Bond episodes, pretty much all of the cutscenes are like static images rather than full animation, which I think looks quite stylistically cool. It looks quite striking, but I can easily see that being kind of boring for some people, because they're not always the most exciting. But in their defense, they do throw up images really quickly. It's not just static text box talking over and over and over again. They have dynamic camera angles and different things in like freeze frames, so it is quite interesting to watch. But I mean, nothing beats a good bit of proper animation, especially in an anime inspired game like this. Yeah. So you get stronger with time as well, but obviously you don't need to bond with yourself. You just get regular rolled upgrades from XP and killing enemies. It's pretty, standard stuff. You can get like stat buffs from a skill tree or brand new abilities, one of which it really seems like so pointless. Why is a double jump in a skill tree, especially in a game where platforming isn't a thing? I don't need to be able to double jump. Why can't I just have this? It doesn't benefit me that much in terms of combat or anything. At the moment, there's like 3 different paths I can go down, and there's one more, I think there's space for one more that isn't there yet, so that's quite exciting. I don't know what that's going to be. But you also can buy stronger weapons to do obviously more melee damage. There's not really any strategy there. It's just buy whatever the new one is because it's better than the last one. It's not like there's a toss-up of, oh, this one's got better speed but this one's got better power. None of that. Whichever one the new one is, it's the best one. There is this cool ability called I think Brain Crush. Like I said, everything's brain. It's like Batman. It's bat in front of everything, it's brain in front of everything. And this happens when you beat down an enemy's I think they call it the brain gauge or something like that. It's basically the stamina. If you just keep hurling objects at them, keep throwing stuff with your psychic powers at them, eventually you can then trigger this awesome one-hit kill animation, and this is a proper animation, it's not just a freeze frame, and that's anime as hell. You'll like launch them in the air, dash up through them, chop them in half, then land down with a dramatic like sword spin flare thing. That's really cool. It's a one-hit kill as well, so it's really efficient, and it's very seamless, so it's not like it takes you out of the moment just to show off how flashy this animation is. It's like you do it and then it's done, and it's a matter of seconds and you're back to it, which I think is really cool. And even if you don't like the little animation thing, I'm pretty sure you can either turn it off entirely or shorten it in the settings, which is useful. There's also this thing called Brain Drive, which basically just amps you up when you're fighting, and all of your moves get powered up. But that's not something you can trigger manually. It's something that just happens, which seems like a kind of an odd choice. I would have expected it to be like a power up you can activate. But all in all, I am really enjoying myself with Scarlet Nexus. It's a just action game like this. It's very like Devil May Cry or like a Platinum game. I mean, it's not as sharp as any of those, but it's still really cool. I like the world, I like the style of it, and I think that the story has just got to a point where the the real meat of it's about to kick off. There's like a conspiracy that started to unfold, and you don't know who you can trust on the team or whatnot, which is interesting, and I'm looking forward to carrying on with it, especially because there are 2 playable characters. So you'll do it once with one character, then go back through with the other character and see their side of the story and see what they were up to. But yeah, I've been having a really great time with Scarlet Nexus, and it's the kind of game where if it looks like the kind of thing you like, it probably is. You know, it looks like what it is. There's no, if you don't like anime or don't like action games like this, you're not gonna like it. But if you do, it's exactly that, and kind of not much else. But that's not really a bad thing. It doesn't bring anything new to the table, but it's fun. The combat's really cool. Throwing objects at people is always satisfying. So far it's been very easy. I could do with turning difficulty up, but I generally don't do that. Like, I'd like to stick with whatever one I picked at the beginning and hold that through. But I'm really enjoying it. I think it's currently sitting at like an 8 out of 10 on Metacritic. I think it's got a 9 on Steam. It performs really well. I've not seen any performance issues. It's been like a solid 60 frames per second the entire time, and it's been great. I've had a fabulous time.
That's cool. 80 on Metacritic, 7.9 user score. It's available on PC, PS4, Xbox One, Series X, and PS5. But it's got a very clean aesthetic effect. Like, this kind of weird cyberpunky type of world, and it's very Devil May Cry, but it's very coherent. Like, it looks, I mean, the color scheme is really
it's very like readable, and everything is red. It's Scarlet Nexus, everything is red. I would describe the I probably did say the characters are a colorful cast of characters. That was very difficult to say. Colorful cast of characters, but they're not that colorful. They're all red. They're all red.
It does look good. The thing that would put me off about these type of games is when it's a JRPG would be like when it's turn-based combat, because this is an action combat. This is something that would appeal, that's for sure. So check it out. That's Scarlet Nexus, released on the 25th. That's a week ago, and that's Henry's first impressions. Thanks for watching this video. If you want to go and watch the full podcast, head to the description of this video and you'll find a link to our new podcast channel, or head over to patreon.com/prettygoodgaming and get early access.